Hey gang, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Drop it.
Merry Christmas, everybody. Welcome to episode 2 of Be Loyal to Your Soil, presented by Holganix Midwest. I have Chris Teachout with me, a grower, a farmer. I call you a farmer. Holganix Midwest calls you a grower. So hello, grower. Mike Batson, he's our agronomist, on-staff agronomist with Holganix Midwest. I guess I'd like you to guys introduce yourselves a little bit and talk about where you live, tell us about your family, and then we'll just get into this. It's just, again, we're just meeting people that are familiar with the Holganix product, what they like about it, what they love about it. We're just trying to bring a bigger awareness to, soil health here with Holganix Midwest, obviously working through this. So we're going to do a show every Wednesday night, fans. So if you have any comments, questions, if you think Mike's ugly, just type it in the comments. I'll put that on their screen. So Chris, why don't you go first?
Okay, yeah, Chris Teachout here. Yeah, I'm from Shenandoah, Iowa, the very southwest corner of Iowa. Anyway, I've been farming a little while. I guess first year of farming was 1979. So
a little while, he says, Mike.
A little while, So yeah, I've done all sorts of things. Livestock, crops, hay, and kind of right now I'm a kind of boring corn and soybean farmer. So anyway, yeah, and my wife and I we farm here, and we've got 3 kids married off, and we've got 3 grandkids and 2 more on the way. So
how old are your grandkids, Chris?
We have 7 and 9 and 4, and then 2 on the way.
Awesome. Are any of your kids working on the farm with you? Are they involved in the family farm?
No, they aren't. We taught them to go out and get a good education, and had the door was always open if they wanted to come back, and they still have a passion for the farm and love what I'm doing here in the regenerative ag aspect of farming. So
yeah, do they live close to you, or I'm curious to see kids that left the farm and what career path they took.
Yeah, my son, he's in Colorado Springs, and he's an engineer, mechanical engineer out there. And it's all that equipment breaking down and getting them. He was running a loader tractor with a grapple and hauling bales off the field when he was about 7 years old. So he's had a lot of mechanical experience. So that really played into his career. Then our 2 daughters, they're in Des Moines, and one works in the school, and then one works for a national crop insurance company.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. So still some connection somewhat to ag and different things like that. So I love when you talked about the mechanical engineer part of it. So I'm a tractor puller by trade, Chris. 16 is the magic number for you to drive a truck or a tractor for the first time. And when we interview people, it's like, yeah, I was 16 3 years in a row. I trust a 14-year-old farm kid more in a car than I trust half the drivers on the road, because they've been driving tractors and skid steers and stuff since they were 6. So I always like to tell that story. Mike, welcome to episode 2 of the Let's Grow. That's my tractor pulling podcast. Let's Grow Pulling. Be loyal to your soil. I do too many podcasts, guys. Mike, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then tell us when you started with Holganix, and we'll start jumping into Holganix and talking about that. But tell us a little bit about yourself, Mike.
Sure. Well, I was born and raised on a farm in Missouri. I lived on a small farm south of Princeton, Missouri, which is Mercer County, about 2 hours south of Des Moines, Iowa, and about 15 miles from the Iowa line. Not too far from Shenandoah, but a little ways. But I've got a wife, Debbie, and 3 daughters. My oldest daughter is married and lives in southwest Minnesota. She just graduated this summer, got her PhD in swine nutrition at University of Minnesota, and is working in swine as a swine nutritionist around Tyler, Minnesota.
Okay.
I've got another daughter, Allison, is a she does she's a radiologist, does CAT scans, MRI stuff. She works at the University of Missouri Hospital in Columbia, and she's there and lives around Jeff City. And then I've my youngest daughter, Lindsay, is a senior at MU at Columbia, and that's my family. And like I said, I've got a small row crop farm. I used to farm a decent amount of acres. Like Chris, I used to have cattle as well, but I let my cattle go about 3 or 4 years ago, and I visit them quite often on my plate. That's my favorite kind. They don't get out. I don't have to cut any ice, so
Yeah.
you know how that goes. And I came to Holganix about a year ago. I started in February, and I was working as a farm manager for a large farmer, and was selling another company's biological. And I had watched Dr. Dave Stark had some webinars on internet, and I'd watched some of his about the product and kind of studied it for a couple of years, but really never thought about doing anything with it. And then I thought that I could add to the line that I was selling, and I approached Barrett Ezrick, the CEO and founder of the company, and kind of got hooked up with him, talked to him a little bit about what I was doing, what I'd like to do. And he put me in touch with Brian Hansel, and made an appointment to go up to West Point, up to Brian Moorfeld's, and made an appointment with those guys, went up there, and thought I'd be up there maybe a couple hours. And just something about the day clicked, and I spent pretty much all day with them, driving around, looking at fields, getting a tour of the facility, and just they've all made me feel at home. And that was on a Wednesday, and on a Friday, they basically offered me a position to work for them full time, and I started that following week, and I've been with them since then.
Love it. And that's great. That's nice to hear. I like to hear the interview stories like that. I went to work for a new mortgage lender 3 years ago, and I drove down to St. Louis thinking it would be nothing, and I spent the entire day with them, and then ended up coming to work for them too. So, and I've been happy since then working with USA Mortgage. So it's been great. Chris, do you and Mike work together on a daily basis? Like, are you in his territory, if you will, Mike? Or how do you guys know each other?
Well, Chris is in my territory, but we didn't know each other until last week. We met at a conference up at Cedar Falls at a big soil health event. And Chris presented up there, and we actually met in the hall before the first day we were up there and talked a little bit. And there's from the big soil health event.
I think I need Chris's autograph now, Mike. Don't you after this?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah. There's some of his yield results there.
So what's the Chris, like it says 232 and 188. What does that mean to a simple mortgage lender like myself?
Yeah, that's bushels per acre. And what we did on this to do a trial on it, we just did strip trials to where one full pass with the combine, kind of through several different soil types and different terrain, and so we just split side by side. And so like our upland corn, really good ground, it was 232 bushels with the Holganix, and then 188 without. Then we even took it to the really thin, I'd call it some really crappy ground, a little clay outcropping. And so we did the same thing, strip trials, and we did 128 with and 115 without. We also took it to soybeans, and on our good ground with it, 73.7, and without 69.6. And then again with some really thin ground, we did 40.5 with and 36.6 without. So yeah, a little background of how I came across Holganix was the co-op Heartland had the free meal. Anyway, so I thought, okay, yeah, I'll go to this.
Timeshare, Chris, right? Like you get the free 3-night stay if you go listen to the speech, like a timeshare.
Yeah. And I was hoping it wasn't that hard to sell or anything. So anyway, so I showed up there, and anyway, when I showed up, I was like this, just had my arms crossed, and it's like, okay, here's another bugs in a jug, and it's like this isn't going to go well. And anyway, after he started talking, and it was like 800 different bacterial and fungi and nematodes and all what was in it and all the food sources, I just really started to open up, because my background, I've been working in regen ag for quite a number of years, doing cover crops, but I'm also have been tried to re-inoculate our soils with some native biology, and by doing it in some compost bioreactors. And I was doing the same thing. I was, getting different species in there, and then I was also feeding it different foods, kelp, fish, and some other things. And I had really good results of making my own. But when I came across this, it's like, this is going right down the same path where I'm going. And it does give the guys an easy button to bring biology back into the farm, with Holganix. We've done a lot of practices on the farm that we've degraded the biology of the soil. And a lot of times people are treating the soil as dirt, and we aren't really focusing on what should be going on out there. We've really had a big chemistry set, with all the NP&K and some of the micronutrients, but we've just played chemistry with our soil. But there's a bigger part of it, and that's the biological part of it, and really understanding that you've got a living organisms out there, that how you go about applying it to the field and really taking care of them, because there are so many different functions that, we don't even know all the different functions that a lot of microbes do, but there's a lot of them that have been known, nitrogen fixers, ones that bring up more phosphorus, and just the whole complexity of that is just, it's exciting to me. A friend of mine, he calls me the kind of mad scientist farmer, because it's like, okay, what's next? And I just keep layering on top of layers of doing all these things, and that's what I found out. And I really like the company, the route they're going, and yeah, that's kind of the background how I came across it. So I jumped kind of, we did the trials, and we did a couple 100 acres, but my wife, after we saw the results, it's kind of like Frank's hot sauce. We're going to put that blank on everything, so anyway.
Frank's hot sauce. I like that a lot.
Just yeah, go ahead. Yeah.
No, I like that a lot, Chris. That's funny, the hot sauce thing. So, Mike, I want to, and we got some more pictures from Chris at Cedar Falls, but again, I'm not a farmer. My dad is. I didn't grow up on the farm with dad or anything like that. So some of the stuff just seems so kind of common sense, basic to me all the time. But I guess I feel like everybody talks about bushels per acre in the ag world, right? But at the same time, it's kind of like one of those things. If you just do things right, it'll just come. And I feel like that's really what the Holganix product is doing. Is like you're just doing things right, and then good things are going to happen for it. It's kind of like that. Just give it to God and just work hard and see what happens in life attitude. And I guess I'm a little shocked that this hasn't been done before, Mike. But I've heard the bugs in the jug before. I love that. I'm gonna get a T-shirt. I love the word nematode. I think I'm gonna do one of those for Halloween next year if I can find out what one of those looks like. No, but Mike, when I say that, it's kind of one of those. If you just do what's right, good things will happen? I mean, does that make sense, or am I way off base when I say that, Mike?
No, you're making sense. It's to me the common sense approach. Less is more sometimes, and trying to get soils balanced, as well is to me the main goal. If you have a farm or some soil, some ground that hasn't been farmed in years, like taking a cross fence out, and as long as there's not any compaction there, and you start farming it, you can see that spot for 2 or 3 years. It's usually healthier, more robust. You usually get more yield gain out of that if you look at the ears or the pods. And eventually that spot goes away just from our normal farming practices. And our product, basically what I've seen with it, is putting more health, more life back in your soil with biology. And we're going to try to bring the rest of that field back to that cross fence area, try to get more life back in the soil. And if you do, everything works better. You release more P and K, make it more available, more micronutrients. You break down organic in, and a lot of stuff that we put on, we over apply just to make sure that we have enough available. That's what we've been taught. And I think we're basically showing you that sometimes that's the case, but a lot of times it's not, that we have a tremendous amount of nutrients tied up in the soil. We just, plant can't get to it. It's not available. And we're showing that we can break it loose and make it available, make healthy plants and make more yield. And it's kind of an easy button, like you were saying there, Chris, or, it's a simple system, but it's so complex, but it's very simple. I know it's kind of a enigma a little bit about how you explain it, how it works sometimes, but the basics of it's simple.
Well, I love the easy button thing because I'm in sales every day, guys. I go into realtors' offices and say, hey, I do FHA, VA, and you send me your clients. And I know what it's like to be a farmer. I love how Chris explained it. I got the free lunch and, talked about the bugs in the jug. But
Sure.
Now he's living testament to this product working. And I fell in love with Holganix when I saw the marketing piece they put together with the little baby, with the little onesie on, said, preparing your future. And it never, because I never planned on being a farmer and I won't be a farmer. My dad has a farm now, but I never really thought past, I guess, next year, if you will. And I never thought you could ruin soil. I was just always taught, the thrash and burn, from like 4th grade, whatever history down in Africa, they go in and they cut 2 acres out. That was the only way you could overuse soil. But I suppose the more you till it and the more you work it, it's just going to get tired. And it's been fun for me to legitimately come out, because the questions I ask are, what is upland? Well, now I know that upland is good, good dirt, if you will, or you expect better bushels per acre from something like that. So it's fun to hear that. So Chris, I came up with Be Loyal to Your Soil for the podcast name. Do you have a better name for it? Because I'm willing to change it. If you think
No,
you've had some good nuggets tonight, Chris, and I've enjoyed listening to you. So
well, yeah, I really enjoy how you labeled it, and I would just go with it. Yeah, because to put your time and investment into recreating a healthy living soil, you got to be loyal to it and you got to be committed to it. Yeah.
Yep. Good. Jeff's watching from David City, Nebraska. Julie's on the road. Kurt Van Beek, he's the owner of the Outlaws. Holganix works a lot with the Outlaws. Chris, I don't know how much you know about truck and tractor pulling, but if you're from Shenandoah, Iowa, you know some truck and tractor pullers. I know that. But it's been fun there. Holganix Mid-South is checking in from Tennessee. Last week I learned about, all the different regions of Holganix, if you will, throughout the country. And then Mark Crawley. Mark's been using the product for 3 years. And he's from Southwest Minnesota. And he's also a truck puller as well with the Outlaws. So it's been fun. And then this Madison Morfeld, I think she's some employee, or I think she works here at Holganix. I got to check the roster or something, but that name looks familiar. No, she was on episode 1. So again, if you're just joining us, we're live on YouTube, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn, Facebook, and we're talking with Chris Teachout. He's a farmer from, I can't call you a grower, Chris, I'm sorry. That's what they call you guys, but you're a farmer. You're from Shenandoah, Iowa, and Mike's from just outside of Mercer, or Princeton, Missouri down there. Mike works for Holganix. Chris is, like I said, a farmer, actually uses the products here. Chris, here's some pictures I got sent to me from Cedar Falls, and I wanted to put these on the screen. We talked about this slide already, and that was comparison with or without Holganix. Here is what are you doing here?
Well, just giving a presentation on, some of the things I've done. And this was at the big soil event. They're in Cedar Falls, and there's about 400 people in the audience there. So, I've had privilege over the last 4 or 5 years to, speak to other people about healthy soils and how to go about it, and just trying to put all these pieces together. And the biology is one of it, chemistry is another one. So, and I've been able to go overseas, and I spoke in France, and then also in Germany, and also been to Ireland. So it's kind of been a worldwide effort, and I've got associates, clear across the United States that, we come together, and it's a community. A lot of times rural America now, you see the small towns, and they're dying, and if they don't have manufacturing or something to keep them active, they kind of are fading away. Yeah. And also in the ag sector, we are kind of losing our communities, the neighbor and, connecting with other people. But when I've got into this regenerative ag movement, the people there, and also the people like at that conference, the 400, it's a very heartfelt thing. People that are really willing to do something to better their soil, and it comes back around this community, and we're sharing, just like tonight, sharing this product, and it really gets almost very spiritual when you're around those people. And when you start talking to them about this and the living soil, it just brings up emotion, and people are wanting to do this. And so that's why, I'm, fully supportive of this project. It just fits in line with where I've been going, the path I've been going down.
So how did you get going down this path? How does one become a worldwide speaker about farming, Chris, and growing, and how does that happen?
I guess I've always been one, with all of these years of farming, asking why, and when I'd get the answer with the complexity of ag, I would always just think there's got to be more to it. And I guess, growing up as a little kid, they used to call me Mudball, because I just get into the dirt and mud, and play with it. Sure. But anyway, going forward. It started out, I was trying something new or trying some cover crops, and then, there'd be a small meeting, and so I started speaking at that, and then it just word of mouth spreads around, and anyway, it just kept growing, and it kind of keeps growing and stuff. So it's just a great community to be involved with.
I'm going to bring you to a truck and tractor pull and have you go out and touch the dirt. We do that as pullers too, and we grab it to see how it feels, if it's sticking together, and we know parts of the track. So you're gonna be my hired guy. Tell me read the track. It's gonna be fun. I need every advantage I can get. This is a screen share I'm gonna put up on the screen now. I think these are some of your soybeans. Can you kind of talk about this slide? Let me get rid of my comment on there. I think I can zoom in.
Yeah. This is of course, Heartland Co-op. They become a dealer for this, and so they had some interns, and all across their different locations they had a lot of different interns running a lot of these tests. And so this was on a bean field of mine, and like it's showing, with the Holganix, it's the rooting system is 62% more. It just really accelerates the root the system on the plant. It just really turns on some of the genetics on them. Another thing on here, on our water infiltration, they pound a little metal ring into the ground, and then they pour water into it and time it. And anyway, they did this, and where we had the organics, we had 208% more water infiltration. So once you get, a living soil, and when you have a lot of these bugs and critters in the soil, they're living and dying and eating each other. It creates more air and airspace. It creates more fertility in there. It just kind of, in itself, loosens up the soil. So when we're in these shorter rainfall years, when we get that rain, we're getting that rain into these biological soils. It just soaks in a lot better, and we don't have near the runoff. We've been no-till since early 90s, but this has taken it to even a different level by understanding the biology of it and how it creates this soil that's just very, very moist, very soft. I had a custom operator this fall seeding some of my rye, no-till drilling. And this young man, his comment after he got done with my field, he says, and he's doing thousands of acres. He said, "Man, you have so much more moisture and your ground's so soft." So it all takes layers and layers of this to, not only the biology aspect of it, but also getting the macro and the micronutrients.
Chris, how long have you been using organics on your fields? Your soil?
Last year was the first year.
Wow.
Like I say,
so
1 year I was just really impressed with the product.
Yeah, because when you talk to the guys, they talk about, like a lot of growers, aka farmers, they'll buy so much the first year just to try it, kind of like you did your strips, and then they're coming back. And that's the one thing that I'm confident, I feel good about endorsing this product, or being part of this, because if you're coming back and you're buying more and more every year, it's working. You know what I mean? You're not just doing it for fun, because farmers, you got to make it's tight margins. Every penny counts, every bushel counts. And when you can do stuff like this is great. So I'm a mortgage lender. Break it down for me. Why a root like 62% wider? Why that's so important in a bean plant, or even in on a corn stalk, if you will.
Yeah, it's so important, because that way, the more we're exploring more soil with that root, so we have access to more nutrients, more moisture.
Okay.
And with the biology in here too, especially the fungal part of it, we can stimulate fungal association with the roots that expand it even more. So we have more access. It's like having a real good internet, to the plant. So that's what the more fibers you have going out there, the more you're going to have a possibility of bringing in nutrients and water.
No, and I love the water, the water infiltration. I never thought of that, but you'll hear my dad will always say, "We just need a nice steady rain," and that makes sense. It just doesn't hit the ground and just run away, right? But your water's going in, so if you do have a drier year, then those roots can go find it. I mean, this is a home run for me. I think wish I could get into farming. I got about 2 acres in town, guys. You think I should throw down come in and plant some corn? So
yeah, with that of the water infiltration, one of the farms that we've been working the longest, about 7-8 years doing this, we had some staff, the NRCS, they came out and had some young hires, and so we did the water infiltration test, and this is kind of in June, and so we started pouring the water in. The first inch only took about like 17 seconds. And then we got up to 5 inches of rain in under 2 minutes of total time. And that just, the context of that, most ag fields, you pound the ring in there, you'll pour that first inch in there, and sometimes it takes 45 minutes to an hour for it to even, try to soak in. So when somebody asks me, you know, how much rain did I get? I say, all of it.
You got all of it. Yep.
You know, and it does. I see it. You don't see the runoff. You don't see the pollution. You know, our city counterparts, you know, they're looking at this and what ag is doing. So we have to be really good stewards of keeping our nutrients on the ground, our pesticides on the ground, and not letting them get into the water system running on. Because I want to be very proactive on this and be ahead of the game before I'm told what I can and cannot do when it comes to amounts and how the applications take. You know.
No, that's great. Mike, after listening to Chris, I don't know anybody who wouldn't want to try this product next year on their field. So I know, Mike, there's a fall product and a spring product. Can you kind of break that out for me a little bit? What each does, or why you kind of should do both, if you will?
Sure. Well, the new year started last fall. You know, we're into the winter time now, or getting started with that, but we like to start cycling the nutrients out of the corn stalks, the stover, bean residue, and start breaking that fiber down, breaking the lignin in BT corn, the Roundup corn stalks. You know, they're pretty tough. Takes a long time for them to usually break down, and it'll make planting season go a lot easier in the spring. Save on tire wear, cycle the nutrients, get it into the soil profile, ready for next year's crop quicker. And that ground will be a little warmer in the spring. And the fall product that we have has the 800 species of the microbes, but it's got a higher amount of fungi and protists in it than the spring product. And then it has some 2% slow release nitrogen in there to help feed our microbes, plus the microbes that are already currently there. And then in the spring product that we have, basically it doesn't have the slow release nitrogen. It's got the 800 species of microbes, but it's got more even amount of more bacteria in it, and it's got the 400 species of the bacteria, 200 species of the fungi, and then it's got beneficial nematodes and protists, and it's got the food source. And the big thing with the spring is it has the mycorrhiza fungi, and that's what creates the extension to the roots of the plant. And like I said, that's a more chance to intercept more nutrients and water, and builds a healthier plant and extends your system out into the season longer. If you get in a dry period, you know, it'll stand it. And Chris, you probably had a pretty long period of dry, didn't you? You were dry for quite a while in your area.
Yeah, we had really kind of a really short year on moisture, but out of all these years of farming, we had it was our best year ever on corn and soybeans.
Gotcha.
I mean, just amazing.
Yeah.
Just imagine when you have a good year of moisture.
Yeah.
You can get yourself one of them pro stock pulling tractors then, Chris. I'll help you spend that money.
Yeah.
Either one of you can answer this question for me. But if I'm a new farmer or a new grower and I want to try some Holganix product, should I start with the fall product? Should I start with the spring product? Or is it more, it's when you've been exposed to the product for the first time? What are you seeing, Mike, as on the agronomy side? Chris, what are you, as a grower, what would you recommend to people if you were posed that question?
Depending on when you find out about the product, that's when you start, the closest to that time. If you learn about it in the summertime, you'll want to start in the fall. And then in the spring, if you learn about it during the wintertime, you want to use the spring product. But they go hand in hand. Basically, you start cycling the nutrients, and then in the spring, you start building more roots and plant health. And we extend both, water usage, better nutrient uptake. We start breaking down NP and K, making it more available. And by doing that, it makes the plant healthier. It withstands soil-borne pathogens, and then it also makes it healthier and build a better immune system for the airborne pathogens later in the season, like Goss's wilt, tar spot, white mold in beans, sudden death. We help on that as well in soybeans.
Nice. Chris, did you start with the spring product or the fall product when you found out about it?
So we started with the spring product, and it was after the winter meetings. So after we learned from it, that's what we were going for. And I would suggest, anybody going and doing it, a lot of farmers will go out there and do a whole field. Then, ask them how to do. Well, don't know. It's like leave the check strip. I mean, it's like one swath or leave part of the field or split a field, whatever you're comfortable with.
Yeah, very good.
Have a check in there. And it doesn't have to be randomized or replicated test plots. It's just splitting it or turning it on or off, or your supplier put it on here and not over here, and keep track of that and see what your yields are, out of that. And then also watch it and observe what's going on with that plant. With these biological systems, there's a lot of things that these plants start to express. I mean, when I've been doing it on my own, I've seen expressions of, just a lot more pods, a lot more shorter pods, nodes on soybeans. And there's one thing we saw on corn. We started to see some exudates coming off the aerial roots of the corn, which is kind of this gooey slime that comes off there. And we put that under the microscope, and there's bacteria in that slime. So basically this corn, which the history of this, they found this indigenous corn in Mexico that produces nitrogen for about 70% of the crop's need. Corn uses a lot of nitrogen. And anyway, so they found this down there. And so now they're trying to breed it up and all that, bring those genetics in. Well, on even our modern day hybrids, when you get the biology kicking, we've seen it. And all my counterparts all around the United States that have been in for 6-7 years, we started seeing this slime come off these aerial roots. And so it's like, that's what we're trying to express, the genetics out of these, corn and soybeans. Even with the modern hybrids, we think we've lost a lot of that stuff, but it's in there. And I think there's so much more that will pop up. But getting out there, observing your fields, and if you don't know, what you're seeing, get a hold of somebody or your agronomist and walk the fields.
Chris, how soon did you know? So you put spring product on last spring, so less than a year ago. How soon did you know that this was making a difference? Like, obviously, you're more in touch with your soil than most people are. You're the mad scientist. I love that. I'm gonna get you a T-shirt. But how soon did you know, Chris?
About midsummer, when we started seeing the more the growth, and also I take a spade around when I'm walking in a field. I carry the spade. Let's dig up the roots and see what's going on and the observation of it. So they're about to in July. That's when I started seeing it's like, okay, this shows some promise. And then, of course, when we went in and did our strip tiles and the tests on that, then it's like it confirmed what we were seeing.
Numbers don't lie. Numbers don't lie. That is for sure. Well, that's neat. That is neat. Mike, what are some success stories? I mean, was it dry all over the Midwest, or was there some rain that hit some certain farmers? Or, because I know in Wisconsin, where I live, it was dry.
Yeah,
very dry.
Pretty much over the 7 states that I traveled this summer, there was an extended dry period everywhere. There just happened to be a couple of early wet areas, like maybe parts of southwestern Minnesota. They had a period of wet early, but about everywhere else, it was dry from last year, the fall of the previous year. And we lived off dew and 2 and maybe 3/10 rains for quite a while. And then July, some of the areas started getting rain, and then it was August in Missouri getting rain. And it's amazing what crops we did pull off. There was some areas that, where it was been back-to-back dry years, suffered in Nebraska. There was some places in eastern Missouri that was pretty dry. Didn't have the yields, but pretty much everywhere else, I think everybody would have sold the crop for half as much in June, you know.
Yeah.
And it turned out really good. So overall, you know, but
I like it.
some of the success stories is kind of all over, but had some real good success in northwestern Iowa, like more biomass on corn. One grower had it was a feedlot and cut silage is all corn operation, and told us that the field, the most he'd ever taken off of it was 83 semi-loads of silage, and ended up with 97 this year off of it after using our product. That was the only difference in the year. So, and was in a shortened rain, you know, in a deficit of rain. I'd think probably somewhere in that 10-inch rainfall, less than normal. And then had fields in South Dakota that were split half and half with our product and half without. 10 bushel better on beans around Viborg, South Dakota. We had some areas that had that were hit by Goss's wilt really bad, and a seed corn company that had sold the seed, their seed brand, had identified the Goss's wilt to the grower, and they'd split the field where our product was and where it wasn't, and it was a crazy number. Doesn't happen all the time, but the number off the combine was 50 bushels better in that area. And so we show a lot of good stress mitigation in that. We don't control the disease, but we basically make the plant go through those periods with it, you know, makes it healthier so it can handle it a lot better. White mold, had customers in that, Denison, north of Denison, Iowa, up in there, that had fields that was 8 and 10 bushels better on beans in the white mold situation. So those are some. I mean, I could rattle on, but that's kind of what we've seen.
Well, that's fantastic. Yeah. Chris, you've been farming since '79. Has there been? Have you? I mean, obviously you're happy. You want to be on the podcast with us tonight. Actually, you would. I think if it sucked, I think you would tell us. You seem like a pretty stand-up guy. Has there been anything since, and you're what, 21 plus 23, 44 years of farming, that's got you as excited about anything as Holganix? I mean, over like what technologies, you know, was it the combine? Was it a planter? Was it something else? Like I'm just really jacked about this, and I'm not even a farmer. And to hear you guys talk about it, what other things have you seen that have over your 44 years of farming, Chris, that are comparable to this?
I think the biggest thing is, you know, getting into the biological realm of this whole thing. You know, when I started down this route probably about 4 or 5 years ago, and make my own compost and making in microbrewers, and so that's been just a big shift, because always before, you know, it's the chemistry, and pretty soon that just was kind of just everybody knows what they know, and there wasn't anything I really know coming out. So I would say the biology, you know, yeah, I love machinery, and through the years of tried a lot of different things, but I guess I never really got excited about any of them. You know,
right.
They all do their job underneath the paint. You know, they're all metal and plastic, and so yeah. So I don't get too excited about, you know, it's how you utilize them and stuff.
Yep.
But this is exciting, you know, where we're going and what the potential is on some of this. Yeah.
No, it's great. So this is Doug Voth. He has a name. He's anti Mark Zuckerberg, so he has a funny name. But Doug's a tractor puller from Texas, but he's wanting to know, and I saw he tagged somebody in it. Mike, can you grab this? How do you apply Holganix to your soil, and what's your approximate cost per acre?
Sure. The spring product and the fall product are both half a gallon per acre rates. The spring product can be broadcast with your herbicides, can also be applied in furrow with either water or liquid row starters. Put it on. If you're going to spray, we say up to 2 weeks before planting, or at planting, or up to 2 weeks after, to get the full rooting effect, because we increase the germination of the crop. We can speed that up versus where we're not. So to get the full rooting effect of it, to build the bigger roots, we like to be at planting or before. This fall product can be broadcast sprayed. We say a minimum of 15 gallon per acre of water, and try to be right behind the combine to get the full effect of the temperature and a chance to get enough moisture to get it activated. You still have to have a little moisture to get it going. And as far as the cost per acre, the fall product is $15 an acre, and the spring product is $20 an acre. And currently, we've got a program to prepay that's good through January 15th, where you can take 10% off if you pay with cash. And if you want to finance it, we've got 0% interest through John Deere credit.
Nice. Austin had a question. I don't know. Is he, Mike, do you work with Austin? Do you recognize Austin's name?
No, I don't.
Just trying to figure out what percentage of the acres to try it out on. I'm sure whoever he's working with will take care of that. That'll be a good, because it sounds like he's going to be trying it for the first time. And to Chris's point, making some comparisons.
Sure.
I know at the Outlaw Banquet, there was a breakfast. I call it bugs and bacteria, bacon and bacteria or something. I was trying to have some fun with it. But we had a bunch of people in the room, and that was the people that didn't know if it worked, to Chris's point, were the people that really didn't give it a test. You know what I mean? They weren't like, you need a side-by-side comparison, because I'm a numbers guy. Numbers don't lie. You know what I mean? And that's where, at the end of the day, if you're taking care of your soil and you're improving your bushels per acre, I mean, this is as we like to say, a full pull, if you will, from the tractor pulling a metaphor there. So
sure.
Go. So, I want to wrap this up. I promised you guys I'd only take an hour of your life. We're approaching that hour of our life, and it's been fun. Again, if you're just joining us, or if you're listening to this on iTunes or Spotify, we got Chris Teachout with us, a farmer grower from Shenandoah, Iowa. Mike Batson, one of the staff agronomists there with Holganix Midwest. And we've just been talking corn and beans and all the cool stuff tonight. Chris, I guess if you could wrap this up for us, and I'll let Mike have the final word. Why are you excited about Holganix moving forward?
I guess I'm excited about it because on the biological realm, we've also done some testing of what our crops, the nutrition in the crops, even in corn and soybean, we're increasing the nutrition in that. So not only making healthy soils, but also making, healthy crops, to where once that goes down the food chain, it just passes that health along the whole onto us as humans. Yep. So that's what I'm really excited about, and going down this road.
No, that's great. And thank you for coming on tonight. We'll wrap it up together, but I appreciate your insight. And like I said, this is fun for me because I truly know nothing about any of this. So I really enjoyed this. Doug both came back with, my wife is curious about garden products. Actually, Mike, I don't know if you watched the podcast last week or listened. We had people ask about strawberries last week. Yep. I mean, when I think farming, guys, I'm from Iowa. I grew up in Iowa. Dad farms corn and beans. That's all. I know there's way more than that, but that's all I ever think about is corn and beans. Obviously, ag is everything. But how do we answer this question down there, Mike, about the garden product?
You bet. Well, the neat thing is the product, we treat the soil with the product, and whatever you grow, whether it's turf for your yard, sweet corn, all your vegetables, tree crops, transplanted trees, everything that we've tested with it, we see a benefit from it. You may not see it every single time, but I can tell you all our testing shows that we are increasing biology in the soil. We're getting more life back in it. We do test for that. If a guy wants us to come, we do pre-test to build a baseline, and we come back through the season and track the progress with it. But as far as vegetables, normally it increases the Brix level, which is the sugar content, and strawberries will be sweeter, sweet corn will be sweeter, and it'll also, if you get the score high enough, you get your Brix level high enough, your pests like the chewing, sucking bugs, they'll leave it alone. They'll go to the plants that don't have the higher brick scores, and it'll make more nutritious crops in the vegetables that we eat. So they'll see a benefit from it. And the ag product that we have, the Bio 800, will work fine in the garden.
So what do you think Doug means by this? So no crazy chemicals for the garden? What do you think he's referring to?
Probably talking about pesticides or something that's not natural, a synthetic. And that's the neat thing about our spring product. It's basically everything in it's organic. It's not OMRI listed, but it's never been turned down by a certifier for organic crops.
Gotcha.
So that's what I think he's saying. The fall product would be, except we add that 2% slow release nitrogen in it, and that kicks it out of being organic. But you could, we use nitrogen on the crops, so nothing bad there, but it's a synthetic.
Gotcha. Chris, what do you want for Christmas?
Oh boy. I don't know. Anyway, just everybody take a look and start changing your mindset. On being a true caretaker of our soils, what we've been entrusted with.
Love it. I love it. Mike, what do you want for Christmas?
I would say about 2 to 3 inches of rain for July if we could bank it across the whole corn belt.
I'd like it just on Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays, so it doesn't screw with my tractor pulling schedule. Okay, just being honest.
There you go. There you go.
It's all good. It's all good. Chris, Mike, thank you so much for coming on tonight. Merry Christmas from all of us here. I don't know, really, from Holganix Midwest, I guess.
Sure.
And
Merry Christmas.
We appreciate you. Yeah, we appreciate you watching the podcast. Enjoy your family and be loyal to your soil. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for watching.
See you. Thank you.
Bye,
Thank
Bye.
you.
Thanks, Mike.
See you guys.
Hey gang, let's roll that beautiful bean footage.
Drop it.